Welcome to our Wednesday night product experience and training call. I'm Keith Hooper here in Central California. We're glad to have all of you with us on this Wednesday before Christmas. As we're wrapping up 2017, I think it's a great time to reflect on 2017 and all of the blessings that we've received here from Immunotech and Immunocal and Immunocal Platinum, as well as our other great products. And to that point, we want to just reflect back for a couple of minutes here as we get started. Zig Ziglar said many years ago, coincidences was a way for God to remain anonymous. And, when you go back and you look at the foundation of Immunotech, you look at where this company started, how it started, how the product came about, and you get that vision. And you can get that by reading the book on Dr. Bunos, Breakthrough in Cell Defense. And in that book, as you read it, I challenge you to mark the things that are coincidences. The way Dr. Bunos was a part of Italy where he was born and his family, and how he came to become a doctor, and how that was out of the ordinary for his family. How he went to England and spent time with Dr. Fleming, Alexander Fleming, the discoverer of penicillin, and the coincidence that took place for that to happen. The coincidence of him coming to the United States and being here, and then not being able to stay because of the immigration laws, and he immigrated to Canada. And the coincidences that occurred that when he went to Canada, even though he was trained as a surgeon, he could no longer be a surgeon, and because of that went into research. So the coincidences with that. The coincidence of the fact that he was looking at proteins to shorten hospital stays and simultaneously doing research on tumors in rats, and how Immunocal, or what became Immunocal, did great results with that. And the coincidence of it stopped working. And for 2 years, he continued to pursue to find out what had changed and wasn't able to. The coincidence that while he had to have double hip replacement and was recovering from that with the old big satellite dishes, that he was watching a cooking show out of Europe. And one chef said to the other chef a statement that was the key that he had been looking for. The coincidence that he happened to be watching that show. The coincidence of when he was getting ready to retire from McGill University and was looking at office space. And it so happened to be that the owner of the building, who didn't live in Montreal, happened to be there. And that coincidence was to meet with Dieter Beer. The coincidence of Dieter recognizing the genius of Dr. Bunos and Patricia Conchaven and the others that were involved with this product. The coincidence of spending $10 million to get method of use drug patents, and at the very last moment, on the 11th hour, making the decision not to go that direction. The coincidence of Alex Konigsberg, one of the attorneys for Dieter Beer, knowing Chuck Roberts, and putting the two of them together to create the company known as Immunotech Research Network Marketing Company that we know of. The coincidence that had to come about for Chuck having hired a lady by the name of Cynthia Pinkham, who happens to be a friend of Sandra's and myself, who happened coincidentally to come to California and had with her the research on Immunocal before the product was ever available. That all of this stuff was in the first part of this book, but then there's chapters to be written, and the chapters that are important to you and I are the chapters that we get to write. And the chapter that when Cindy brought that information with her and we were there, and the coincidence that Sandra is one of those early adapters that she started taking Immunocal and had great responses from. Okay, the coincidences that had to come about for all of that to take place. And we're going to talk about more of these coincidences as we go through tonight's call, because I think it's important as we're looking at 2017 to understand the blessings that we've got here. It's great to look off at 2018. That's off in the distance of what's going to be, but it's always better to look at where we're at right now and take that into account. Those coincidences have built an incredible company here called Immunotech Research. And one of those that I invited to the call was John Solider, because the coincidences of John, because it was a coincidence that a friend of mine introduced me to John. And John, it's been an amazing experience that we've had here.
Yes, Keith, it has. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, great. Well, the coincidence that happened with us was I was actually living in Tel Aviv, Israel, and this was in the end of 1996, and I received a phone call from one of my sisters in New York who told me that my mom had taken ill and that I was pretty much required to come back to North America at some point in the very near future because what she was battling looked like it was going to be a serious, very serious situation health-wise. And I did so, and she wound up going through a number of different medical test situations, etc. And on the way out of the doctor's office, I had my hand literally on the handle of the doctor's door to open the door to leave and thank the doctor when all the final tests were done, and it turned out that she did not have the situation that they thought she was going to have. She had something a little bit less serious, thank God. However, as I'm leaving, it was almost one of those Columbo moments. For those of you who remember Peter Falk and the Columbo TV show, and I hope I'm not dating most of you, but most of you probably remember that. It was one of those things where I turned around to the doctor, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. I said, Doc, you know, I've been involved with herbs, I've been involved with vitamins, I've been involved with nutrition most of my adult life, both as a user, as a salesperson, and also as a competitive athlete. I've always used supplements. There's got to be something that she could take to not get, you know, this next stage of this challenge that she was having health-wise. And the doctor hesitated for a moment. And it was a doctor at a very prestigious hospital in New York City, by the way. And the doctor said to me, well, I just came from a symposium a couple of weeks back that I heard a doctor who was associated with McGill University in Montreal speak about a product called Immunical. And she said, if you're interested in that product, you can find out some further information from my secretary, and if you want to buy some, she can tell you how to buy it and get a hold of it. And that was the extent of the conversation with the doctor. If it lasted 30 seconds, it was a lot. And on the way out, the doctor, or the nurse rather, I asked her about this product. She gave me an 800 number, and I put it on the back of the doctor's business card. And I got back down here to Dallas where I live, and a couple of weeks later I was unloading my wallet, and some of you have been in some of my seminars. You've seen my wallet. I've shown it to people. I keep all my receipts as I travel for income tax purposes, and then I kind of file them at some point in the near future. And anyway, I'm going through my wallet, and I'm like, okay, I need this. Oh, I guess I don't need this doctor's card anymore because my mother's treatment was done. And I threw the card out, and fortunately it turned to the side with the 800 number. And I said, oh, I'm supposed to get that product from Mom. Okay, great. And I did. I called that number. And I spoke to a very nice customer service person, and I paid retail for the product. So just in case you're wondering the value of retail customers, I did not know at that point that this was network marketing. Now, what you don't know, some of you know me. If you don't know me, what you may not know is that at that point I was very successful in network marketing. I had helped to build several organizations, very large, around the world. I had helped a company here in Dallas to go from, its inception to multi-million dollars in sales. I helped a company in Toronto, Canada do the same thing. I had a lot of experience in network marketing, but it just didn't dawn on me that a product this good would be sold through network marketing. It just didn't dawn on me in 1996, 1997 that anyone would endeavor to take a product from McGill with all of this research and patents and everything else and a medical doctor telling me about this product to market. It just didn't make any sense. But I bought the product. About a month went by. I'm talking to my mom, and I said, oh, by the way, how do you like that product that I sent you that the doctor recommended? She said, yeah, well, I seem to be getting results with it, and I need more. I said, okay, great. I called up, and I ordered it again. And then about the third time that I did that, Keith, it dawned on me that I should probably be on this product because I had read some of the science and some of the research and once again the recommendation of a medical person telling us about the product initially. And I in my next conversation with the people in Montreal, I found out that they were, in fact, going to be selling this via network marketing in the United States. And part of me thought they were crazy, but I said, well, I need to talk to whoever's running this company. And the lady says to me, well, he happens to be standing behind me, and she handed the phone to Chuck Roberts, who was then the president of the company and a co-founder of Immunitech. And that was my first red flag. I'm thinking to myself, well, this guy's probably running this from his garage. because he's that close to the customer service people. He just ironically happened to be in customer service when I was ordering product, and we had a nice conversation. And Chuck asked me to come out to California a couple of weeks later, and there was a medical symposium going on that Dr. Bunos would be speaking at with some other medical professionals, 2 medical professionals. Now, I'm not a medical professional. I'm far from it. And, medical doctors have their own language. When you talk to a medical doctor and he gives you, these explanations of different things, it's normally multisyllabic words, and you have no idea what they're talking about. I think it's a secret language. Anyway, all that said, I went to that symposium at the Red Lion Inn in Modesto, California. I met a guy named Keith Hooper that day and some other nice people. But at each break, because I've been trained to be a journalist, that was my professional training at university, I would take a different doctor and I would buy them coffee at Starbucks. There was a Starbucks built into the Red Lion Inn. And I'd take them and say, Doc, what do you think of this product? Is what this Bunos guy's saying, is it valid? And each and every one of them would tell me, yes, it is, in their opinion. And that impressed the heck out of me, because even though I'm not a medical person, I valued certainly what people in the medical profession thought of this product, Immunical, before I was ever going to try to, sell my first box, so to speak. So that impressed me a lot. From there, I had dinner with Chuck Roberts, and he said, listen, you're still kicking the tires on this, because I was in a unique position, Keith. I didn't need money at that point in my life. I was single. I had been blessed to make a lot of money, and I had some other things going, frankly, that were still paying me a good income, and I wasn't really looking for my next business venture. Sometimes that's the best position to be in. And Chuck said, listen, if you really want to kick the tires on this, why don't you come up to Montreal? So I said, I'll do that. So about a month later, I went up to Montreal, and I did something that I think was probably smart, probably something each of you have probably done, and that's that I asked a couple of people to come with me. I wanted some other opinions. And I didn't want opinions of people necessarily like me. I wanted different opinions. So I brought a friend of mine from Toronto with me, who at that point was about 15 years older than me, and he was aware of this product. I told him about this product, and he started to use the product for some issues that he was having at the time. And I brought a young lady with me from Louisiana who was studying to be a chiropractor here in Dallas, and she was about 20 years younger than me. He was about 10 years older than me at the time. She was about 20 years younger. And I said, let me bring some people with me that are different than I am. And if for no other reason to tell me that I'm crazy and I shouldn't try to sell this via multi-level and just take the product and forget about it and, have a nice day. Well, during the course of our visit, Keith, just to kind of speed up the story, we did the Dog and Pony Show. We met a lot of nice people, and I met John Molson for the very first time that day. And John was kind enough to say, oh, hey, on your tour, you guys are going to meet with Dr. Bunos for about a half hour. And I said, okay, terrific. So we went in and we sat in this office, which was, to say the least, a little bit messy. If you remember the TV show The Odd Couple, Dr. Bunos was definitely the Oscar Madison type of individual. He had stuff all over his office, books and papers and all sorts of things. And he came in and he was a little bit disheveled. His hair was a mess and his tie was kind of crooked. And he sat down with us and he immediately apologized. He said, I'm really sorry, folks. I just got back from Italy. And I said, oh, how nice, doctor. Were you on vacation? He said, no. I was working. Oh, what were you working on? He says, I was at the Vatican. He says, I was at the Vatican. And I said, well, what were you doing at the Vatican? He said, I was reading what Hippocrates had to say in Latin about the immune system. I just want to repeat that. I was reading in Latin what Hippocrates had to say about the immune system. Now, there's not too many people on the earth as we speak that can read Latin, number one, and there's not too many people that could read Hippocrates in Latin, number two, and understand it. He was one of the few. And I looked at my two colleagues and I said, I don't know what you guys are going to do with this product, but I'm convinced that I want to be here. I want to take this product to market. I want to be a valuable part of what this company does with this product, because I think not only does it work, but this guy's a legitimate genius. And those were all my coincidences, and from that day, we've never looked backwards. We've been part of Immunotech. I can tell you I've never personally missed a day, Keith, in those 20-plus years of using Immunical. I believe in this product wholeheartedly, and I've introduced it to, lots and lots of people around the world that have had similar results with it and are happy with it and continue to use it each and every month, most importantly. And also many of those people have gone out and built businesses, but in a lot of cases they've just benefited by the product, and to me that's the number one cause of not only Dr. Bunos but the Immunotech Corporation. So with that, I will turn the call back to you, my friend.
Well, thank you, John. You know, the coincidences there, putting your hand on the door and turning back and asking the doctor, is there anything she can take? You know, and you go through that in the coincidences, and it's just amazing. Once again, coincidence is the way of God remaining anonymous. And, you know, we've got Lori Caravellis with us this evening. Lori, are you with us?
I am, Keith. Can you hear me clearly?
Well, we can hear you clearly, and I know there's some coincidences in that your chapters that you've been writing of the book here with Immunotech as well, that the coincidences that took place.
Well, you know, it's I'm just listening to reliving the story as you two are talking, and you know, without repeating what you've already said, you know, if you can look at you know, even just what I would call the legacy leaders. You know, there's people in this business that have been here for some of all those same reasons you just discussed for 20 years now, and that doesn't happen. That's not very common. And you know, I was thinking of a couple of coincidences, but one who's a gentleman on the phone. He may be speaking tonight. I'm not sure. But you know, my very, very first person. You know, here I was when I started. You know, I had been in the direct sales, you know, before this for a couple of years, you know, so I come into Immunotech again by coincidence, answered an ad for my then husband, and fell in love with the industry, fell in love with network marketing, and not having to go. At that time, I was you know, doing Party Plan and shuffling women's lingerie and coming home and washing it, and I answered an ad for my, like I said, at that time, husband. And it was me that fell in love with this industry, and that's where I met, you know, Wally and John, and you know, through them, you and you know, here was this basically, you know, young woman who didn't even finish high school. You know, I was driving a school bus. I'd had a couple of years' experience doing some Party Plan company, and meet these guys and end up in Montreal. We all took a car ride down, end up in Montreal, and had the privilege and honor to be sitting with Dr. Bunos in this small little office. And, you know, once I started that business, my very, very first person, Barry White, who was on the line, you know, even that was a coincidence. He, you know, between basically him as one of the largest parts of my business over 20 years, and we met by coincidence. I mean, his son left a flyer in my mailbox when I ordered a pizza, and his wife just happened to be very health challenged. They didn't expect, you know, much longer in her life, and it's 20 years later, and we still have her with us. So, you know, it's those kinds of things, and some of my best friends, same thing. You know, we met through this business and through this product, and you know, I've been called one of their angels because, again, this product has helped their health, you know, immensely. And then when I look at, you know, sort of where we are now, I know we've got a very special guest speaker tonight, which, you know, there's no coincidence that she's here. You know, I'll let you do the introductions, but there's no coincidence that she's here. You know, 20 years later, there's something to be said when a company is still here, still thriving in this industry, still thriving. We've gone through a recession. You know, we've been listed in the top 100 in you know, globally in this industry, and yet the biggest income earners started just a few short years ago. So, you know, when I started, Keith, there was an ad when we used to do newspaper ads. Now everything's over the internet. But I said, being at the right place at the right time can earn you a fortune. And I truly believe that statement right now, with what's happening with the company, like I said, there is no coincidence that now we have a young, vibrant owner who's investing in some of the people like we are about to hear tonight, you know, that have the credentials. There's no coincidence that these people are here, and really it's the right place at the right time. So back to you, Keith.
You're absolutely right, Lori, the coincidences. You know, and I asked Dr. Barry White to join us here, and just, if you would, Dr. Barry, you know, it was interesting, that flyer in Lori's mailbox and the coincidence that it's made the changes, the blessings for you and your darling bride, Fern.
And it was my son who was delivering the pizza. That was, Lori and I were talking about this, and our circles would never have intersected at all. And it intersected with that little piece of information that my son Brian left with Lori. And out of that comes a whole different world as well. And my wife probably wouldn't have lived more than maybe another 2 or 3 years. And Immunocal made all the difference. And by the way, I wasn't even that interested in the product. Lori herself, with that doctor in front of my name, didn't want to even approach me. So she gave me off to Wally. And Wally said, "Do you want to know about the greatest information that's coming out of McGill?" And really, I didn't. But he sent some. I was being polite. He sent some fax material in, well worn. It's been refaxed 100 times. It was in bad shape. I gave it to my wife to read, and she said, "If this is really what it says it is, we have to try it." So Lori hauled me down to Montreal, and the rest of that is history. But the biggest thing I've noticed in terms of each time I've passed it on to other people, many of them have been critically ill, and their lives have been turned around. Instead of a casket, they had years of productive living. So it is in that kind of spirit that I look at it in terms of the product. Yes, it's also given a good income in the process, but it's connection to connection, and each one of them, people I didn't know, and yet, back to your coincidence, it was that intersection between myself and them that made a difference in their life, and down in others as well. So it is an amazing ride this has been, and an amazing outcome. And, of course, now we're looking forward to the big stuff moving, the big guns booming out, because I really think that this is the time for Immunotech to really be moving. Okay, back to you, Keith.
Get Wally in there. I think you and I have been doing these calls, I believe, every Wednesday night now for, 15, 17 years, every Wednesday night, I believe. And, it's so fascinating to do this because, fortunately I was able to do the calls when the company first started with Dr. Bunos. And so we've got a lot of insight from that. But I hope you heard tonight of the coincidences. And I want you to think about that when you're reading the book, Breakthrough in Cell Defense on Dr. Bunos. Okay, that when the book, when you get to that last blank page, that's where you get to start to write your part, your chapters of Immunotech, and we're excited about that. It was great to meet Maurizio Damascene, a few months ago down in Los Angeles, and I want to share something with you. The very first question that I asked Maurizio, before anything else, the very first question I asked him was, "Do you believe Immunocal is a gift from God?" And without any hesitation, his response was absolutely. So those coincidences to be in place, and we'll get him on a call and we'll talk about the coincidences of how it came about for him to be where he's at in the ownership of Immunotech and where it's going. And now for tonight's special call, we have Meredith Burkich with us, who is the new president of Immunotech Research. The coincidences that had to be in place for her to be here are astounding. I know a little bit of it. And I just want to share with you that during that first conversation that John Solider and I had with her several weeks ago, was that her response to the question was, when I asked, "Do you believe Immunocal is a gift from God?" was absolutely. So think with that concept in mind, I want you to think about it as Maurizio Damascene and as Meredith Burkich start to write the additional chapters for Immunotech Research, that you have an opportunity to be the co-author of those chapters as we move forward. And we're so glad to have Meredith with us here this evening. Good evening, Meredith.
Well, good evening, Keith. Hello, team. How are you doing this evening?
Well, we're great, and we're so excited to have you here. And we know a little of the coincidences that came about for you to be here. But as we're looking at being grateful for where we are here in 2017 and understanding where we're at, and then 2018, is right down the road, right over the hill. We can see it coming. But we're very excited to have you here with us tonight, Meredith.
No, it's my pleasure. This has been, actually at this point, I would be just as content to sit here quietly and listen and hear your amazing stories about non-coincidences, because this is inspirational. Wow, what a treat for me, and what a nice a way to lead into this holiday weekend, when a time of Thanksgiving and a time of gratitude and a time of really recognizing that there are no coincidences, and that everything that we have, our very lives, are gifts from God. And so just, wow, what an inspiration. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you.
Well, Meredith, as the coincidence have come about, you shared with me when we had a conversation here several weeks ago that, over the years you've been aware of Immunotech. You've been aware of the research. You've been aware of Dr. Bunos and where we're at in the market space. And that puts you in a unique situation when the coincidences came together to bring you here.
Yes, and I think that again, as I'm listening to this, and I'm just thinking back, and my husband and I were on a walk late at night, like we like to do after, the kids are in bed, and you're just saying, okay, let's kind of chill out. So we take our really late power walk, and we were talking about how it seems so incredible how God just weaves the fabric of our lives and has led so many situations, so much learning, so much education, so many relationships to this point in time, this very, very special point in time, which, if you go back to coincidences, you could go back to a number of years, and gosh, I would probably be here for the next hour kind of lining up all the coincidences. But what really is interesting is when I got into network marketing, of course, like a lot of you on this call, there are a lot of companies, a lot of options when you're looking for ways to make some extra income, or maybe you're not looking at all like John and it just kind of finds you. But to land at the company that I landed at, out of all of the companies I was looking at, to be in the field for the 10 years where I built a business, to land at that particular time when the company was purchased by a gentleman and an investment firm from Colgate-Palmolive, to have a chance as one of tens of thousands of consultants to have the opportunity to not only meet this new owner, but to travel on rewards trips and actually find myself, right there in Prince Renier's castle in Monte Carlo with him, my husband, and walking around getting to know him, getting to actually get to a position where I was blessed enough to have an opportunity to be in his home for a reward activity, for a level that I achieved. And then not only that, but even after I left that company, to maintain a relationship with the CEO and owner who became my coach, really my executive mentor as I moved from the field to the corporate end, and having him end up being one of Immunotech's former CEOs, who then happened to call me when I was settled in a job and happened to tell me, coincidentally, that he felt, as well as he has known me for the last 15, 20 years, that he felt that there was a moment in time here that was perfectly aligned with everything that I'm passionate about, with everything that's important to me. Most importantly, of course, the integrity of products and people, all the things that I feel are a legacy company, and that he felt that it was in my best interest, even though I was very comfortable and very settled, to have a conversation with a young and very passionate, talented executive, Mauricio Domenzijn. And so everything, all these coincidences, again, what are the odds of that happening? I ask you.
Very, very rare. But once again, God has a plan.
Mm-hmm. So here we are. So here we are. Isn't that crazy?
So here we are. So let me ask. I know that you've just spent some time with Mauricio, and you guys are planning some amazing things in 2018, and you guys are going to start to write those next chapters of
yes.
the history of Immunotech. And maybe
mm-hmm.
maybe you can give us just a little sneak peek, if you will, at some of the things that you're thinking possibly for early 2018.
Absolutely, certainly would be happy to. So we spent some good time together. I got to go down to the office in Mexico City this last week. Spent a number of days there with Mauricio. just really, evaluating all of the work that's been done to this point, all of the numbers and the forecasts and the plan for success in 2018 and the vision. And so it was a really fortunate time for me, and I got to just really have my eyes, opened even wider about that. And then, of course, doing the preparation and planning for what is going to be an absolutely pivotal meeting for us as we gather, the second week in January in Texas, and we all come together. And this is like the heads of all of the functional areas of the company. So we're talking about IT, we're talking about operations and marketing and communications. Everybody is converging, in Texas. And we just finished, really fleshing out, these 3 powerful days where everybody is going to bring their plan for next year to the table, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and really, really lay that out. I actually flew down, the head of events. She's here with me this week here in Florida. She's been at my home every day. We have our final session tomorrow. Really just drilling down into every moment of the upcoming convention that we'll be having, of course, here in the United States, for Canada, the U.S., and the Dominican Republic, and just really making sure that we add value and everything that you need so that you can, be empowered, so that you can get what you need to go out with heightened belief and confidence that there are no such thing as coincidence, and that this is indeed, a path that is now coming to a place that all roads have led to, and really now it's our time to make very, very clear to the world that what we have to offer is life-changing.
Well, Meredith, we're very excited to have you here, John Soloder, myself, Lori, Dr. White, everybody that's on the call tonight, and, Sandy Walper and Jim Spencer and all the others. Everybody is very, very glad to have you here with us as we're looking into 2018. We're looking at some things that are coming into place that the company will be rolling out in very early 2018. One of them is that little trip to Paris, huh?
Yes, that's going to be a doozy. We're pretty excited about that. We'll have the qualifications rolling out on the 3rd to kick off the new year.
Well, Meredith, we want to thank you for taking the time here to join us on this Wednesday night on our product experience and training call that we've done. As I think Dr. White and I have been doing these every Wednesday night for 15, 18 years, and it's just a great thing to do. And to that point, folks, as you're writing, think about this once again, that you get to write your own book. Okay, you get to write it. You get to write it with Maurizio and with Meredith here as they're writing these chapters, that you get to co-author it. But you only get to do that if you make a decision to do it. And to that point, John, if I could get you to come back on and maybe give everybody a little insight into our call programs for the first part of 2018.
Yeah, I can, Keith. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Effectively beginning 2 weeks from tomorrow already is January 4th, I believe.
Yes.
And we will be beginning a program that we laid out last week for everyone with a lot of excitement. Our Achievers program for people, as you sponsor one person into Immunotech as a venture. You will be able to get on an Achievers call where we'll be basically covering some strategy and tactics that have been effective in our industry now for about 60 years and have built some of the dynasty, not only the dynastic companies, but more importantly for you and I as independent distributors, the dynastic distributorships that have been built in some of the giant companies out there. So we'll be covering that on a consistent basis. So your new people will have an opportunity to consistently be trained with the right information. Second to that, when they sponsor 2 people into Immunotech personally, they'll go to our bronze call. Our bronze call will also take place on Thursday. The first set of those calls, as we said, will be January the 4th. So anyone that is sponsored now will be eligible, obviously, for those calls. The bronze call will also take into account some additional information that's helped to build those tremendous distributorships at not only at our company, but at other companies in our industry over the years. So there are things that are time-tested. Really the best of quite honestly, my mentor, Lawrence Thompson, and Keith's mentor, Bob Schmidt, really the best of what those 2 gentlemen taught Keith and I over the years, and those things will be detailed on those calls each and every week on a consistent basis. And, it takes consistency to build a huge distributorship. So we'll be doing those, and beginning on January the 4th, we won't be the only speakers. We'll be the only speakers the first week. The second week we have some dynamic speakers lined up. The third week, right through the very first quarter of 2018, we've already got a list of dynamic speakers that will be sharing not only that consistent information, but also additional information that they feel is relevant for you to build your Immunotech distributorship. So we're rolling up our sleeves and going to work. And as I said on that call last week, the fact that we're excited enough to want to engage in that, not only organizing that, but doing those calls and asking other people to participate, tells you our level of seriousness. With Meredith here, with Maurizio owning the company, it's been a great 20 years, folks. And from the bottom of my heart and Jose's heart, we thank you for everything that you have all done over those many years, whether you've been here for 20 years, 20 months, or 20 days. We thank you. But the best is ahead of this company. If I'm nothing else, I'm an old-timer in this industry. I've been doing this since April of 1983. I've been in network marketing. It's a long time. It'll be 35 years coming up in April, and I've been doing this for a living. I've seen a lot of things, but the parts of the jigsaw puzzle that have always been out there with this wonderful product that we've been blessed to have, what we maybe have needed over the years is that process of both management and ownership all pulling the same direction that you and I do in the field. And I know that we have that today, and I'm really excited about it. I know many of you are as well that have reached out to me after those calls last week. So that's what's going to be starting January 4th. Keith has flyers ready to go on that. Some of you already have those. If you don't have those, Keith, why don't you tell everyone how they can send you an email to your correct email address so everybody is up to speed on that, because we want to hit the ground running here the second that the holiday is over.
Absolutely. And to that point, it's Keith, very simple, just Keith, Keith, at KeithHooper.com. That's just Keith at KeithHooper.com. And as well, we also have the Wednesday calls. We have a call at 11 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays, which is an opportunity call, as well as this call on Wednesday nights, which is our product experience and training call that we do with Dr. Barry White. So with that, I want to thank all of you for taking your time here on this holiday season, and do think about the coincidences and the things that brought you to Immunotech and the things that you're grateful for and the lives that have been touched, because there's literally tens of thousands that have been touched. And as we always say, Immunocal works every time given time. So with that, have a Merry Christmas, everybody. Sandra and I wish all of you the very, very best, and we will be having a call next Wednesday as we peer over the hill at 2018 coming our way. With that, have a great evening, everyone, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.